Carl, what have you done?
Think anyone will notice?
Mr. Carl Jackson, right?
Carl Jackson was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. After the sudden death of his mother at the age of 11, he moved between LA and Orlando, Florida, trying to find his way in life.
So I'm clearly a Carl Jackson fan.
Carl Jackson.
Carl Jackson.
Carl Jackson.
Although he was introduced to hard work, faith, and family values, as a struggling teen, he wandered down the path of least resistance, finding himself jailed twice. By the grace of God, he attended an evangelical church and found that there was a better way and accepted Jesus Christ as his Savior.
There's just no fake stuff about Carl Jackson.
Now, on the Salem Podcast Network, Carl has launched on a journey to help people of all races and backgrounds to discover facts of America's true past, as well as realize the benefits of utilizing their God-given gifts and talents, which far outweigh any benefit from a government subsidy or program.
Real dangerous out here. Let's roll, Carl.
Get going fast!
Redeemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Listen, I'm going to go into a deep dive right off the bat that is going to include mentioning some of the headlines that are out today. But here's what I want you to be aware of. This is extremely important. I didn't want to go with a particularly heavy subject today, but unfortunately we have to because of the crypt keeper that's in the White House. I wish this guy would shut his mouth when he went overseas regarding Vladimir Putin. There was a piece of audio, and unfortunately right now I can't find it. It was on, I heard Dr. Sebastian Gorka play it on his show, but essentially he cleaned it up, and he cleaned up the audio. Perhaps we'll find it later. If so, we'll play it later. We'll play it later for you, okay? But basically, when he was asked by a reporter at this G7 summit or what have you, whether or not Putin was using chemical weapons, what he would do if he were using chemical weapons, he basically said something to the effect of, well, if he uses chemical weapons, we'll use them too. Now, the audio that we're finding now, it's cleaned up. He's a tough guy. He'll regret it. Essentially the headline reads, President Biden says the U.S. would respond if Putin uses chemical weapons. And obviously we would respond to that. I get it. But there is audio out there somewhere where he literally says, basically, we would use chemical weapons in kind, which is illegal, which is stupid. Somebody please prevent this man from talking about foreign policy. Listen, whatever, I want to tie all of this stuff in together. We know what's happening with the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, and all of these metrosexuals involved in that. America still has a role in this world. America is the greatest country that God has ever given man. And I think God has gifted us with that responsibility to remain in that place. But if we don't want it, if we want to give it away, someone else will take it. Unfortunately, it'll be a godless nation like China, like Russia, is someone that doesn't have the same belief system or value systems that the United States of America does. I want you to understand this. And honestly, I was gung-ho on the Russian oil sanctions initially, but that was only contingent upon us drilling here. We're not doing that. The Russian oil sanctions, oil and gas sanctions are not working. And in fact, what they're going to do is boomerang and hurt the West. Now, we all want to punish Putin. I want to see him hanged by a piano or guitar string. I don't care. I don't care how he dies. The guy is evil. I hope that he will gets right with God, but even still, he needs to go based upon everything that he's done and the misery he's caused on this world. The guy is just the evil man. But having said that, the oil and gas sanctions aren't going to hurt Putin, except initially they have hurt him, right? I get that. It's hurt. They've hurt a lot of Russian people. They're going to hurt us, or they have been hurting us, because obviously the price in gas and oil here and our fuel has risen. You have people like the Governor Gavin Newsom of California that's now offering, welfare cards. Biden, California, or bribing Californians to stay. Gavin Newsom proposes $400 gas cars to ease the sting of the nation's highest gas prices. That's got to be he's got to be the dumbest governor in the United States. I'm not sure. He's got to be the dumbest governor. If not, he's definitely got to be in the top 2 or 3. Gretchen Whitmer is pretty dumb herself, but this guy is a complete idiot. And quite frankly, sir, the people that vote for him, that's welfare. You people in California, you will be paying for that. And that should tell you how important it is to have gas and oil. Let me tell you how this stuff is going to turn around and bite us on the butt and why it's true. There's another headline that I just want to make quick mention of, why it is true that we need to, let me see if I can find it here. Putin demands time to take off mask and airplane. Yeah, it is time to get past the political theater or the mask theater that's happening in airplanes. But where is it? God forgive me here. I'm sorry, guys. Putin, give me just a sec. It's right in my face somewhere. Okay, Intel CEO says the U.S. must act now to boost semiconductor chip manufacturing. Intel CEO Patrick Gelsinger warned Wednesday that Congress must act now to boost semiconductor chip manufacturing amid a global shortage before it's too late. Intel is the world's largest chip maker by revenue. It's among the American businesses trying to reduce their dependence on foreign chip making, dominated by China and other regions of ASLA. I'm sorry, of Asia. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing. This is extremely important. It is important that we right away speak out in behalf of Taiwan. We cannot play games with Taiwan, because what's going to happen with Taiwan is exactly what will likely happen with gas and oil production and the pain that it's going to cause, or the lack thereof, in the United States. Let me get to it. Hat tip Breitbart. Putin attacks petrodollar system, demands unfriendly nations purchase gas in rubles. Guys, this is a big freaking deal. This is why I'm primarily focusing on this today. This is a big freaking deal. As Joe Biden once said to Barack Obama in his ear, except he used another word, and he was just as much of a moron then, and he wasn't even senile yet. All right. So, hat tip, again, Breitbart. Here's the summary. Putin demands unfriendly countries pay in rubles. So, Russian leader Vladimir Putin has issued a demand that unfriendly countries, quote unquote, purchase natural gas in rubles rather than dollars or euros in an apparent attack against America's global hegemony or dominance through the petrodollar and the international sanctions that have been levied against Russia's central bank. All right, so Putin said this before a cabinet meeting in Moscow this week. He also said that his government will no longer, quote, accept, quote, compromised, close quote, currencies such as the dollar or the euro from countries that have levied sanctions in response to his invasion of Ukraine. Why did he say, or why did he use the word compromise? He knows the power that he wields with oil. I'm telling you, this Green New Deal crap is a bunch of crap. It is going to get us all killed. It is going to make us starve to death. You think times are tough right now. You think inflation is tough right now. You think the value of the dollar is dropping right now. If we continue this nonsense, pretending as if we're going to save the planet by buying renewable energy products that we ship in from China while they're building more firing up more coal plants, you're stupid. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. Oil and gas are going to continue to be produced around the world, whether we play a part or not. And I'll tell you this, if we don't play a part, it's going to be dirtier and it's going to happen even more frequently. We were leading the world in energy. Now, oh man, I'm telling you, let me tell you. All right. So jiu-jitsu, I go back to jiu-jitsu. One of the things about jiu-jitsu that I enjoyed when I wasn't in pain and I could actually do it. All right. So one of the things that I enjoyed and somewhat did enjoy was sometimes you go in and you start, rolling or whatever, basically practicing jujitsu, and you think you have the hands up on somebody, especially if it was somebody with a higher belt. You make a certain move, they'd make a counter move, and then you think in your head, oh my God, I got him. But and then because of their experience rolling on the mat and all of the years that they had been done it, all of a sudden, you realize, oh crap, when they start sliding their hand across your neck, you're like, okay, maybe they have me instead of vice versa. This is exactly what's happening with our sanctions, our Russian oil sanctions on Putin. He's flipping this around on us. And this has everything to do with the petrodollar. This Green New Deal crap is going to destroy America. These people that are arguing or for a renewable energy, they're a complete and utter joke, and we cannot take them seriously any longer. We under President Trump, the air was cleaner, despite the fact that we drilled. We used an all of the above approach, and the air was cleaner. So people, get over it. Now what you're going to do, more countries are just going to start drilling for oil more. You're not going to save the planet. You're doing more to damage the planet by emboldening these countries that don't care about American values, that don't care about the environment. They care about being powerful. I'm telling you, this is just so frustrating. We're in a scary place. And what Biden is essentially doing is ushering us in to a Cold War where we're going to lose, especially with him in charge. Putin said, I made the decision to implement within the shortest possible time the package of measures to transfer payments. We will start with that for our natural gas supply to the so-called unfriendly states to Russian rubles. It doesn't make sense, he says, to deliver our goods to the EU or US and receive payments in dollars or euros. So some of you might be thinking, if you're a lefty, well, good for him. He's doing his thing. Or maybe you're just like, oh, screw Putin, I hate him. The bottom line is he's winning the jiu-jitsu match. Right now, it appears as though we have him down. But as long as we continue to outsource energy, as long as we continue to outsource our gas and oil production, we are going to lose. The world isn't going to be cleaner, you little commie environmentalists. The air isn't going to be cleaner. Renewable energies and stuff that you have to build in China, 85% of the products dealing with renewable energy come from a place where coal-fired plants are ramping up, where they do not care about the environment. They care about power and money and global hegemony. You guys are just, it's crazy. He says it doesn't make sense to deliver our goods to the EU or to the EU or US and receive payments in dollars or euros. This can be seen as revenge, but again, there's something bigger at stake. So in response to this is in response to his sanctions that have been levied against the Central Bank of Russia, as well as the United States and the EU taking the unprecedented move to freeze Russia's international reserves. So Putin had these international reserves estimated $300 billion worth, mostly in dollars. So he figured he could attack Ukraine, he could invade Ukraine, and there would be, he braced for more sanctions because he's been doing this literally ever since 2009. I think he ramped it up in 2014 after the Obama administration implements this coup. In 2014, he ramps it up. So this guy has been bracing for this. Now, what he didn't expect is for NATO, I believe, to align so quickly against him. But he realizes that he still has the upper hand. He still has the higher level belt, if you will. Why? Because the idiots, the metrosexuals in the West, the EU nations, the NATO nations are willing to buy into this Green New Deal crap when the rest of the world isn't. Guys, if we don't produce gas and oil, you know who will? Russia, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Mexico. some people that we were cool with and aligned with, but they're hedging their bets. They're waiting on the sidelines to see what's going to happen. A lot of people are concerned, okay, why isn't India stepping in and talking about this? Could it be because India feels screwed by the United States yet again, and they're waiting to see what happened? What do you mean screwed by the United States yet again? We could have sided with India. India, once they were no longer part of the British colony after World War II, what have you, or a territory of Britain, we could have sided with them or Pakistan. Essentially, we sided with Pakistan, Islamabad, to the chagrin of India. Okay, India thought that was a little weird. I mean, we figured it out. We still got along. Hey, this isn't about you. This is about Pakistan. This is about aligning against Russia. You know, this whole thing there, keeping communism intact, Cold War, all of this kind of stuff, you know, whatever. And then we do the same thing in 19, what was it? Was it 91? I mean, we start really cozying up to China. We want, you know, China is this developing nation. They are another, you know, that's an unfriendly nation to India. Or India and China have their issues, and we kind of we side with China, not necessarily to knock India, but they take it as a slight. So India is cool with us, and we work with them. And under President Trump, listen, I think seeing this today, all of the chaos that we're seeing around the world, bolsters the argument that you need President Trump back in the White House. I'm not saying that's just because I want to kiss President Trump's booty. I was a guy who at first was completely skeptical on President Trump until I started seeing him deregulate things in his first, literally his first 100 days in office. I was like, okay, I was wrong. This guy is the real deal. But he also managed to keep the world out of World War III. He actually managed to push back against the natural instinct of these dictatorial nations that want to take over and rule the world and want to see America collapse. They were so afraid of what he was doing or what he would do that tyrants paid attention. North Korea, China, all of these people paid attention. We're worried about, you know, remember the big Khashoggi thing where this guy was killed by the Saudi Arabians, and it was a horrible scene, and everybody was upset, and everybody was like, man, Trump, why aren't you sensitive? Everybody got on him, and listen, it seemed it was a really bad thing that happened. There's absolutely no doubt about it, but you can't. You're talking about one man. As evil as that was, you're talking about one man. Everybody, oh, we're kissing the butt of Saudi Arabia, you know, and the UAE. What is Biden doing now? Trying to kiss the booty of Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and they won't even take his freaking phone call. Because all of these liars, whether it's the World Economic Forum, whether it's these metrosexuals in the Democrat Party, NATO, EU, all of these guys are absolute liars. They're trying to switch us to this green energy policy, trying to virtue signal with this stuff. And all they're doing is creating, they're actually what they're doing is realigning alliances around the world. And I'm not sure that they realize it, because in the end, guess what? Guess what, all you metrosexuals? We lose. Not just us. I know you can crush the little people and think you can walk away. It ain't going to happen like that, Captain. They're going to come after you. If these nations, these nation states, the Chinas, the Russias, the Irans, the Syrias, the Venezuelas of the world, if they become more powerful than you, they're going to come after you and they're going to crush you. And how are they going to become more powerful than you? Simple. Oil and gas. Because the world runs on oil and gas, as much as you idiots want to keep lying about it. It's insane. It's frustrating. So $300 billion in reserves that Putin has in dollars, and we take it away. We sanction it. Okay, good. I'm okay. I'm fine with that. But now what do you need to do? There needs to be a second part of action, right? That second part should have been drill, baby, drill. Knock Sarah Palin all you want. She got it right a long time ago. Drill, baby, freaking drill. You know why? Because oil and gas rules the world. And this is what the Democrat Party and this is what the left does not want you to know. If we were to just cut off oil and gas production completely, or not import oil and gas completely, you'd be walking around butt naked, no vehicles, no heating, no lighting, nothing. It's insane. So now, if the EU doesn't stand strong, they will be forced to purchase rubles. As a matter of fact, it would force European nations to purchase hundreds of millions of euros worth of rubles per day in order to cover the cost of its gas imports from Russia. Russia has the EU by the cojones. I've been saying this. There's a much bigger issue at stake. Ukraine is a devastating story. It is a sad story. We should have stepped up to the plate to help Ukraine much sooner. Now we're in a position that we can't even fathom, and it's going to get worse. I'm sorry to tell you. I want to tell the truth. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure that, I'm going to do I'm going to do a survival. 10 things that you'll need to have in your like survival kit. Imagine being the Ukrainian people today. You're displaced. You have nowhere to go. You have to totally depend on some people. What if we were to have that type of attack perpetrated on us by one of our enemies? Oh man. So I'm going to do a separate podcast where we'll just talk about basic survival stuff that you would need. Everybody could get, virtually everybody could afford, that you should have around your home, apartment, a condo, wherever, in case the crap hits the fan. Because I think eventually the crap is going to hit the fan. I'm just being real with you, just being honest with you. Oh, and I'll get into this in a later podcast too. We can thank the Clintons, particularly Hillary Clinton, for Russia's nuclear weaponry dominance. We can thank Hillary Clinton for that. We'll get into that in another podcast. Leftists are destroying America, but they're also destroying the world. They're dangerous. They shouldn't be in office. They should not be in power. So if the EU bows down to them and they have to ship hundreds of millions of euros worth of rubles per day in order to cover the cost of their gas imports to Russia, they're screwed. They're screwed. Because now what will that do? All of the sanctions in the world against Putin, and there's been tons. I mean, honestly, they're standard sanctions that have been used before. Putin has figured out how to evade them before. Ever since 2014, he's been figuring out how to evade these, or since 2009, but particularly in 2014 when he was hit very hard after his annexation of Crimea with sanctions. He just figured out other places to go. And he made people dependent. And these idiots in the EU continue to count on him for oil and gas. So he's just figured out a way to get out of it. Okay, pay me in rubles. See, what that does is if they start paying him in rubles and they stop using the system of the petrodollar, the U.S. petrodollar, it weakens our dollar. So you think inflation is bad now? You think it's bad now? We haven't seen anything yet. Now, maybe this stays with Putin, but if it doesn't, we're screwed. We're screwed. So why should we be concerned about the fate of the petrodollar, and what is it? Someone explain that, but I'll say this. So Russia's demand for payment in rubles comes amid, let me just go back to the article, comes amid growing concerns about the fate of the petrodollar, a system in which oil is only traded on the global market in American currency. So oil is traded on the global market in American currency. So if Putin flips the script and says, no, now you're going to pay me in rubles. Okay, well, that's just Putin. But what if the world follows suit? When they see us being so dumb as to chase this Green New Deal nonsense, the rest of the world is saying, wait a minute, you guys can go for that crap all you want. We know that it doesn't work. We know that it's a scam. We know that China is producing much of your renewable energy products, and this is a complete and utter joke. We're going to go with Russia. We're gonna use some other currency to buy oil, gas and oil on the global market. If they do that, the dollar is sunk. We will see all of you lefties and Democrats that are think that you have it bad, think that America is systemically racist. Just wait until it's run. America is run by Xi Jinping or some Islamic nation. Guys, we are idiots. These Green New Deal people, these environmentalists are destroying America. And we need to stop them. We need to mock them. We need to let them know how dangerous they are. So just looking over my notes here. So yeah, this will totally remove America as the supreme power in the world. Now, what happened? Richard Nixon took us off of the gold standard. All right. So the petrodollar has been a staple of the global economy since 1973. That's when Richard Nixon took us off of the gold standard. He made a deal with Saudi Arabia to only trade oil in U.S. dollars. And that move was quickly adopted by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. That is OPEC. So by forcing the world to trade oil in dollars, the U.S. not only massively increased its sway over the other countries, but also prevented inflation right here in America by forcing those countries to hold our dollars in reserves, and therefore limit the supply of notes in circulation. All right, so that was a good thing. The problem is we kept spending like drunken sailors. We've been spending money like crazy. There's no balanced budget amendment. Now we have continued resolutions where we just spend ourselves into oblivion. What is it? Monetary theory. We can just keep printing money as if it'll have no effect on us. We can keep using a credit card. That's going to make us richer. Really? Going further and further into debt is somehow going to make us richer? Thank God for Governor DeSantis, who has now made it mandatory that our schools teach the basics of economics now. It's insane. You can't spend yourself. You can't spend yourself into prosperity. Just can't happen. All right. And then if other major oil producers follow Russia's lead, if they dump the dollar again, we're in trouble. Germany right now is screwed. Especially, if the West pays for oils and rubles, Germany is totally screwed. So the article goes on to say, while Russia's decision to demand unfriendly nations purchase gas in rubles is not a full-scale attack on the petrodollar, it will put the U.S. and its allies, specifically Germany, in a tough position. In response to Putin's announcement, Germany's economy minister Robert Habeck accused Russia of a, quote, breach of contract, unquote, and said that his country will, quote, discuss with our European partners how we would react to that. All right, breach of contract. See, this is the idiocy of the metrosexuals and the Green New Deal. And this is why it's so important. This is what makes America exceptional. Our Judeo-Christian value system. We don't trust dictators. Europe has largely abandoned God. So they trust a dictator to keep a contract agreement with them instead of obtaining more power for himself. That's the problem. That's why you can't abandon God, you left-wing morons. All right. It remains to be seen, however, that what leg Germany will be able to stand on in a contract dispute, given its moves to block the Russian-German Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline and to ship weapons to Ukraine. So here they are. Germany is trying to help Ukraine, and frankly, I think they should. But the problem is they're dependent on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Putin has them by the cojones. So Russia needs gas sales from Europe. They depend on it. All right, so you might say, well, Carl, what do you mean? Then Europe has Russia by the cojones. The problem is, all right, Europe Union's economic powerhouse imports 55% of its natural gas from Europe. They can't cut off from that right away. So prior to the announcement from Putin on Wednesday, Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz told the country's parliament that while his government is looking to secure other energy sources, cutting off Russian gas imports immediately would send our country and all of Europe into a recession. Putin knows this. And frankly, so does China, so does Saudi Arabia, so does Mexico, so does Venezuela, so does any country that is oil rich. And we, the United States of America, are killing ourselves by bowing down to these environmentalist commies, these freaking idiots that don't know what they're talking about. So Germany makes a deal with Qatar. So Germany recently agreed to a deal with Qatar to begin importing gas from the Islamic Kingdom. However, there's currently no pipeline infrastructure to expedite this, so the gas will likely be needed to be transported by the sea. These idiots were so invested in the Green New Deal that they have no infrastructure for pipelines. So Germany isn't even capable. All right, let me just read this. Germany does not currently have the infrastructure at its ports to accept large amounts of natural gas. They're just screwed. This is the stupidity of the Green New Deal. You move away from gas and oil production, which you can produce very clean. The West can produce and drill for oil, gas, fossil fuels. Very clean, right? It could be very clean. But instead, they want to virtue signal and they want to move to this Green New Deal stuff. This stuff is like, it's cultic behavior. It's cultic behavior. It's unreliable energy. Just look at what happened at the Texas freeze. I encourage you, go look at the PragerU video on the Texas freeze. 5-minute video, and you'll be like, oh, green energy does not work, and it will not work when you need it, and it is not clean. It is clean while you're using it, but to develop it and to throw it away, it isn't clean. It does more damage to the environment. Stop allowing these people to lie to you. Our alliances around the world, and I feel like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just being real with you. We're so focused on just what's happening in Ukraine, and we should help the Ukrainian people. I wanted to arm them, not necessarily the no-fly zones and all that, but I wanted weapons going in. I didn't feel like we should talk about it. I love what Sebastian Gorka said. Listen, we have U.S. troops in Germany that don't need to be there. Put them on the front lines of NATO countries. A NATO country, so Putin knew that he couldn't go any further. It would send a strong message. We could send intelligence to Ukraine so they could wipe Russia out. All of this stuff we could have done and we should have done at the forefront, and we didn't do. And now you have this jackass, this crypt keeper in the White House that keeps coming out and saying stupid stuff, not to mention his VP as well, and just digging a further hole as far as foreign policy. We would be much better off if Joe Biden would just shut up and Kamala Harris would shut up about any foreign policy. I'm convinced of that. Guys, we're in a scary position because the world is realigning. The world uses war. Just look at what happens after World War II. The world realigns after a war. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing happening. You could hate America all you want. You haven't lived anywhere else. All of you lefties, you haven't lived anywhere else. You haven't lived in the Sudan. You haven't lived in Saudi Arabia. You haven't lived in Afghanistan, and neither have I, but I don't want to. I'm not stupid enough to want to. I like freedom. Man, you lefties are destroying the country. You environmentalists should be ashamed. You're destroying the country and you're destroying the planet. Your cult idea is stupid. It is childish. It isn't working. It's bringing America down, and it's helping the countries rise that will destroy the planet, at least the way they won't destroy the planet, but the planet will be much dirtier. All right, if they're in control. Guys, you better pray that the EU doesn't bow down to this petrodollar. And start buying their gas and oil you start using the ruble, because I think that's just the beginning. If they do, that's just the beginning. The dollar will ultimately collapse if people follow Russia's lead. So we need to pray against that. But the oil and gas sanctions are going to hurt the West more than Russia, sadly, simply because we're avoiding drilling. And now if these countries turn away from the dollar, we're in serious trouble. We're going to see lifestyle changes like I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. I'm sorry to bring you this depressing news, but on the next podcast, I'm going to bring you some more, let's say, basically, I'll make a podcast on how to survive, at least for the first several weeks if we're destroyed and displaced, yet like Ukraine, and you got to survive in the woods for a little bit of time. I'm sorry that it may come to that, but anyway, I do think that everyone should have some survival kits in their house. Gabe, man, we need a sponsor that deals with survival kits. All right, so if you're out there, let us know. But anyway, I'll bring you some good news. I just wanted to be straight with you. I didn't want to be so heavy going into the weekend, but I want you to know what to pray for. We cannot abandon the dollar or the petrodollar system. And if you see that, if that starts occurring with Russia, I fear of a domino effect, and we're really going to be in trouble. And all of these people, like the Joe Bidens of the world, that thought that they would be in charge in these metrosexuals of the WEF, they have another thing coming. All right, guys, until next time, don't grow weary doing good. I appreciate you listening. God bless you. Oh, and before I go, please subscribe to the podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble are just some of the places that you can find it. Find me on Twitter and Parler at Carl Jackson Show, Facebook, Carl Jackson Radio, and please share it. And also, some people email Carl, we're having a hard time finding you. If so, just go directly to SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Find my podcast there, subscribe, and share it. All right, guys, you have a good day, and I'll check you out next time.